is another video of Nintendo E3 Day 3.
To know without actually having learned it yet.
Yeah, and if you've got the skills, I mean, how? So, but the thing is, though, with that being the only thing you've got to do is finish the game, how do you finish the game? So, one option is like get good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's an option, and you know that's something we think some people are going to do. They're just going to be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to keep going through this until I can beat this layer. But for sort of people like me, at least, if you don't want to sort of destroy your TV and your console. There is, thankfully, another way of getting through this layer, and actually that's why Yooka-Laylee are going on this adventure, because at the end of every single level, there is a bee that's been imprisoned.
Okay.
But these are no ordinary bees. These are members of Queen Phoebe's royal guard, the Bee-Talion, and they're basically the most awesome bees in the entire bee kingdom, and when you free them, they'll actually go with Yooka-Laylee into the impossible lair and help you out. And the way in which they help you out is that every bee will take one hit on behalf of Yooka-Laylee. They'll kind of just dive on the grenade and to help you get through it. And so, as you can imagine, the more levels you complete, the more bees you get, the more bees you get, the more hits you can take, and the more hits you can take, the more possible the impossible lair becomes.
I like it.
And that is kind of the general overview of the game and why it's called Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
So if I collect 5 bees, I can take 5 hits.
Exactly, yeah, that's
Got
right.
it, okay.
And they'll take any kind of hit as well. So if you kind of get, blown up by something, that'll knock one of them out who'll fall to the floor. But also if you fall to your death down a death drop, like one of the guys will sort of grab you and pull you up and sort of drop you on the side, and then he'll pass out because, he's putting a lot of work there.
Very tired,
He's very tired, yeah. But So they're really useful, and there's a total of 48 that you can get. So eventually, if you play through enough levels, you will get a lot more chances.
And that makes the impossible lair actually possible.
Absolutely,
with 48 hits.
With 48 hits. That's what we hope anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about the development process and your role in the development.
Yeah, sure.
For the fans, I'm pretty sure they want to know exactly what you do.
Yeah, totally. So Gary and I are both designers, and
Okay.
one of the major things I've been looking at is the gameplay mechanics, which is just like the general handling of Yooka-Laylee, the moveset, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so my role is kind of just making it just feel super smooth to play. And like the word we've been using in development of this game to describe the mechanics is fluid. Like
Nice.
we just want it to feel like really silky smooth. And it's kind of really interesting when you watch a beginner playing this game. They kind of sort of walk through the game and stop and jump on an enemy, but the better you get at the game, you kind of find that people start to gradually glide through the levels and they start chaining moves together and boosting through. And so you can really see there's a big difference between an advanced player and a beginning player. And the advanced players just end up looking that much more cool. They just smoothly go through the game, getting this state of flow. It's really cool. So see, I've done gameplay mechanics, and Gary's just done tons of the levels. In fact, he's done all the levels that we're playing. So he's gonna ace them, and it's gonna be no problem.
Yeah. So talk to us about this area we're now. This looks a little different than where we just were.
Yeah, you're right. So this is one of the things we're really excited about this game. It's like a major addition to the game. It's called the Overworld, and I would completely understand if you immediately looked at this and thought, okay, it's a nice looking map screen, that's cool, go from level to level. But actually, we've put so much into the Overworld, and it's so much more than that. And we've been describing it as a mini adventure game in its own right, because there's just so much stuff to see and do in here. So, you've got all sorts of really varied locations to visit. There's tons of characters to meet and interact with. They've got all problems they need solving. There's loads of puzzles, which you kind of see as we go through. There's tons of puzzles to sort of get through. And there's loads of secrets. And it's just a really nice place to kind of hang out in between levels. And it's also a really great place to kind of get a bunch of that Yooka-Laylee charm, because, we really wanted the game to have the characters that people love from the previous game come back, and new characters as well. And they don't really make sense in a 2D level. You're kind of focusing on getting through the level. You don't want to stop and talk to people all the time. So it's a really nice place to just sort of just chill out and hang out with all the characters.
Yeah, it's a different pace, a different vibe. I like how it mixes up between that fluid, sort of fast-moving.
Yeah.
One point to another gameplay and just kind of getting to chill out.
Exactly, and we find that it really kind of complements the 2D levels quite nicely, because when you're playing a 2D platform, you're doing level, and eventually your heart's going and the adrenaline's and you're like, okay, I just need to take a step back now and calm down. And the Overworld really represents that kind of, go and get a cup of tea and just just have a little, I kind of use the word potter, just like, you know,
Yes.
have a little potter around the overworld, just like, you know, what's through this passageway, can I get up there? It's a really nice place to just explore and have a bit of downtime and just chill out.
I
like
look
that.
at
Potter.
it.
I'm going to use that too.
Yeah,
Potter.
you can't say it like he can.
Pootle is another word I like to use.
I look at it as an opportunity to hand the controller to one of my kids.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely,
Just
yeah.
kind of say, oh, okay,
Yeah.
here, try this, and
Yeah.
he can just kind of mess around in the overworld.
That's it. I'm like, go and find all the secrets for me.
Sure.
I'm going to have to lay down.
So it looks like I see a challenge level Gary just entered. What's going on there?
Yeah, that's right. So that was a Pagey, and in the original game, Pageys expanded the size of the levels. In this game, Pages do something slightly different. So they offer you a little challenge, and as you can see, it's just a single screen, very brief challenge that sort of...
Oh, he won.
He's a pro.
Wow, does he work on your team?
He designed it. He knew how it
I
worked.
think so. To just sneak
I've
in.
never played it before.
But yeah, so Gary completed that challenge, and like I said, the challenge is kind of really simple little challenges. They kind of test your ability with like a gameplay mechanic. So that one was about rolling, for example. And we should just appreciate this moment, sorry.
Pagey power.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Now the visuals in this are just stunning. The
Yeah.
colors and the way everything comes together and the depth. I mean, this is definitely a level up for you guys in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really think our art team have surpassed themselves in this game.
amazing.
It does look beautiful, and the music as well. Being led by Dave Wise and Grant Kirkhope. We've got some
legends.
absolutely beautiful tunes in the game.
Yeah, and I think we're actually going to hop to, we're going to move on from the overworld and hop over to a different level, I believe.
That's right, yeah. So this is going to be level 3. Here we go. Right, cool. Yeah, level 3. So moved a bit further through the game now and get a bit more challenging. And obviously you can see we're introducing new enemies. So we've got spiders, a few new mechanics, stuff like ropes and whatever. But one of the main things you kind of notice here is like the level is very different looking to the original, and that's one of the key things that we're aiming to achieve with this game. We wanted a real variety of locations, so no two levels really share that much. We really wanted to explore all sorts of places that could be in this Bee Kingdom. So we've got town, we've got forest here, we've got factory, we've even got like a zeppelin in the sky. There's like so many different crazy locations that players are going to be visiting and hopefully sort of really enjoying exploring this Bee Kingdom.
That's so cool, and I love how the save point kind of scans your body.
Yeah, that's it.
And it kind of gives you an imprint of your body as you go through it.
Right.
That's really neat.
And of course he's got eyes because...
Of course.
Could you talk a little bit too about our heroes, Yuka? It's Yuka and Lele.
That's
and,
right, yeah.
Sort of how they have a relationship that goes beyond just hanging out together as a musical level.
Yeah, well, they're best friends. So, yeah, for people who don't know Yooka-Laylee, Yuka, he's the green chameleon, and Laylee, she's the purple bat, and she's kind of a bit sassy, and he's a bit more chilled out. And, yeah, kind of individually, they're pretty legit heroes anyway. I think we could have probably made a reasonable game about either one of them, but they kind of form this unstoppable team, which is Yooka-Laylee. And hopefully that's kind of encapsulated in the way the game plays as well. Like if you look at the way the moves are set up, it's all about teamwork. You know, you can see that when Yuka jumps and Laylee spins, it's all about Yuka doing something that Laylee contributes to, and they really are sort of better together.
But you could actually lose one of them, and then
That's absolutely right. Yeah, that's true. So we don't have a health system or a life system in this game. If you take a hit, what happens is that Laylee is knocked from Yuka's shoulders, and she kind of flies around the place where you took the damage, and in a bit of a daze because she's just been hit. And you've got a small window of time in which to catch her. And if you catch her, that's cool. You can carry on with the adventure, no problems. But if you don't catch her, she'll actually.
Oh,
Gary!
Looks like Gary got a little greedy there.
Exactly, yeah. And Gary made this level, so.
Yeah,
Come
the
on,
level
Gary.
designer tries to,
If you lose Laylee, then you've got to continue on your own as Yuka. And what you find is that actually the game becomes that bit more challenging because firstly, if you take another hit, you're going to die. And secondly, you lose a bunch of the abilities that you've become reliant on. So the twirl jump that Gary's doing there's a ground pound move, and there's a boosted version of the roll. Those 3 moves just go away with Laylee. She sort of flies off with them.
Ah, okay.
And
so it enhances your move set.
Yeah, Laylee does.
If you have both of them together.
Exactly, but when you lose her, you're kind of down to just Yuka.
Become a little stiff.
That's it, and you really find you become a lot more tense, and like when the platforming sections come up, you sort of palms sort of go a bit
one of
sweaty.
those moves you mentioned, like the flutter jump, the flutter jump will always kind of get you out of trouble. It can make you can make that adjustment you need when you don't nail the jump, and suddenly you don't have that.
Exactly, and sometimes you forget as well, and so you'll just be going through, and you're like, yeah, press the button to, oh, hang on,
Right.
gone. Yeah.
I love the 3D nature of this while the characters come into the screen.
Yeah, it's really fun when a character dies and just flies
It's
by
really
the camera.
cool looking.
all the secrets in the game as well are kind of slightly telegraphed using that sort of 2.5D perspective. So we have walls that are fake walls,
right?
And you can just, if you're careful, if you're observing, you can just see that there's actually a room behind it.
Past it, right?
Yeah. So you kind of keep your eyes peeled. There's a lot of like hidden areas within the levels themselves, and you know, if you keep your eyes peeled, you can. You can
Oh, look,
exploit
he
those.
made the level.
Like we've got
That's
another
the most
member of our
terrifying level.
Yeah.
We've got another member of our battalion. I think we've rescued
That's
here.
right. Yeah, we have. So Buzzer Khan. Some of them have got some very strange names.
So now we can take 2 hits, 1 hit in the impossible layer, or is it 2?
It's
Do we have 2 Bs
We've
now?
got 2 Bs now, so we can take 2 hits, and then of course you've got the sort of generally taking a hit with Yuka, and she flies away, Laylee, and she flies away and catch it back.
Have you actually seen someone defeat the impossible layer the first time? You have.
I have, yeah. We can confirm it is possible.
It's the impossible layer is possible.
Yeah,
without
exactly.
taking a hit.
Capital B says it's impossible, but Platonic says no, it has to be possible.
Okay.
There's no way we were going to make a level that was like actually impossible.
Right.
I don't think that'd be so much fun.
So where is that layer? We're sort of seeing like almost like a mini map.
Yeah,
here.
that's right.
this
So this is where the lair was. It's just up here. So it's actually just to the north of level 1. So we started just south of there. That's level 1, and you can see just north of there. That's the impossible lair. We've had 1 attempt already today, as you can see from the UI, and we got 0% of the way through. So pretty pleased with
This
that.
map is beautiful. I like how the trees are they almost kind of look like that classic sort of pixel art.
Yeah, and it gives you a sense of how big the overworld is as well.
Yeah,
In fact,
huge.
we just quickly hop back to it, and we can zoom out of the map. You can just see how big
wow.
the overworld actually is. So it's a really sizable experience, and there's like I said, it's just full of stuff to see and do, tons of secrets. So yeah.
Right, and you know, earlier you were talking about, when we were off to the side, you were talking about some of the levels and how they have different dimensions to them.
Yes. So, well, let's have a look at that then. So, we're going to solve one of the overworld puzzles, and as a result of doing that, we'll kind of trigger something quite special to happen, and we'll kind of talk about that. So, this
Stream. Apex told you to stop.
This is what we're going to do now, guys. We're going to do the slightly more involved puzzle in the overworld. So the first one, it was more straightforward. This is a bit later in the game, so we're going to go ahead. You can see he spent some quills to open that cage. So quills are really the currency of Yuka and Laylee, and they're used in the overworld for things like opening cages. But there's also a shop that sells some pretty cool stuff that we're not talking about today, but hopefully people are going to really like the stuff that you can get in the overworld and take them back into the 2D levels. There's like a lot of back and forth between the overworld and the 2D levels, and we're really keen to ensure that it felt like one cohesive experience rather than 2 disparate ones. So there's constantly back and forth between the overworld and the 2D levels. So that's great. He killed the 5 enemies. He's got himself another key.
I love how he holds the key in his mouth and
Yeah, I
hits
know.
it with his tongue.
I know. It's pretty grim. It's not particularly hygienic, I don't think.
No.
It's brass, maybe. Brass, I think
It's pretty
hygienic.
clean.
Oh, well, okay. That's good.
You guys have pulled out all the stops here with the detail. It's great.
Yeah. So this guy here, you can see this is a character as well. He's called Rampo. Now, we could sit and chat with him, but I don't think we've got time to. He goes on a bit. So, but we could sit and chat with him, and he's actually a returning character. So he was a boss from the previous game, and something.
Can't pick the key up.
Can't pick the key up. This is a really difficult puzzle because Gary can't pick the key up.
You have an impossible layer and an impossible
definitely
puzzle.
Impossible game. Yeah, okay. So we may have to cheat somewhat with this puzzle. Just gonna
Imagine I've got the key and now through the door.
through the door.
Yes.
Okay, good. And then there's an area here that we kind of want to get through. You can see there's these like things that need to come down. It's like a little bridge because that's the only way we can get to this key. If we can pick that key up. Fingers crossed.
Well, we'll find out.
We will find out live on stream. It's very exciting.
Yes.
So this is another little puzzle you can see marked out on the top of this platform. It actually shows the way you've got to swim underneath.
A bit of a hidden, not hidden thing.
Exactly.
Pathway.
And like, all the puzzles in the overworld, it's not working.
No.
You know what? We would have loved to show you this puzzle.
It's all right. It's Gary and the Impossible Puzzle.
It's
right.
Gary and the Impossible Puzzle. So, well, we'll just talk about what would have happened. So, he would have flicked this switch, this would have come down, he would pick this key up, and we would go this way.
I like that swimming mechanic too.
Yeah,
like
it's really fluid. Yeah.
So how long have you guys been working on this? I mean, you obviously started after the first ukulele.
Yeah, that's right. So a small group of people right after ukulele started working on the game, and then gradually, as we finished supporting ukulele, the sort of team started to ramp up, and then at the moment now we've got 30 people at Playtonic, so we're kind of in a really good position to sort of take on any type of game, and so this one's been a really smooth sort of nice transition out of Yuka 1 and onto this one.
And one other thing I've been enjoying in my headphones has been the music of the game. Could you talk a little bit about the music that we've been hearing?
Absolutely. So Dave Wise and Grant Kirkhope, they kind of lead the music on this game, and the number of times I come back from work and just driving home, and I just got one of the level songs stuck in my head, and or like when a new tune comes out, like when they do a new tune for a level, and I'm just like, oh man, that's so awesome, and then they'll do an updated version of, oh man, that's even more awesome. So one of the things that I've not spoken about, because unfortunately the impossible puzzle has tripped us up a little bit, is that what would have happened there is that Gary would have smashed Rampo's teeth, which is something that happened in the original game. We do it again in this game. Poor Rampo. Smashed his teeth, and it would have made the river flood into the level entrance where we were stood outside. And what that would have done is it would have unlocked the second version of the level, because in Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair there are actually two versions of every single level. The original version that you find by default, and then a transformed version of the level that you access as a result of solving a puzzle in the overworld nearby. So that was the puzzle nearby that level entrance that we were solving, and it unlocked the second state. Now, what that would have done in that level, so the original version of that level is like very dry, very barren, all the plants are kind of withered and whatever, and when you flood the level with water, everything gets watered, the whole level is raining, plants grow, there's all sorts of different things, and the transformations of the levels are really significant. So the one for this level actually becomes a swimming level.
Okay.
And the town that we were in earlier gets completely destroyed. There's even a level where the first version of the level is like walking horizontally, and we flip it vertically, and you actually end up climbing the level. So every single level in this game has a transformed version that's significantly different in every respect. There's new artwork, everyone's got new music, new enemies, new structure of the level. It really is completely transforms the game. So although the game has 20 levels in theory, every level has a second version, so
that's
in
really
reality
cool.
it's more like there's 40. And we really hope players are going to enjoy playing the first version of the level and then kind of wondering to themselves, how this is going to change, what's the transformed version going to be, and then we think it's going to be like constantly surprising for them to see.
Sounds like it's going to be, you guys have actually made 40 levels.
Exactly,
right?
yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's another example of how, like, what you do in the 2D levels and the overworld, they kind of back and forth. So, you solve a puzzle in the overworld to unlock a new version of the 2D level, and then you play in that version of the 2D level, get a bee, get some quills, spend them in the overworld, back into... So there's constant sort of fluid back and forth between these two experiences.
So much to do.
And there's so much just like attention to detail in these levels. Like everything has a purpose. Even the platforms that fall away, they were tied up with ropes and knots. Like there's nothing that's just there and isn't sort of connected to the larger structure, which I love. Yeah, we wanted the place to feel really solid and it really does. It feels like every level is an actual physical thing.
Yeah, totally. This is a great bit. You expect to be going left, and then
oh boy.
Like those giant, those are very friendly-looking giant, saw blades of doom.
It still looks like
it hurts.
Yeah. Ooh, gosh.
Oh, Gary.
Go for it. Gary, you're doing a great job today.
Yeah, this is certainly one of the tricky levels. You got to take your time.
That's really cool. So what's the bell do? Is that another checkpoint?
So the bell is where you can regain Laylee. So if you lose her and you're off as Yuka on his own, you can get Laylee again using that bell.
There's so much. Fans are really going to love this.
Yeah, I always love these guys. These are called Ghost Quills, and each one sort of represents a bit of a risk-reward challenge for players.
Oh, cool.
And so you can see that in triggering this, he's vomiting quills all over this area, and it kind of really pushes you to take risks in order to get a large number of quills. And this is awesome as well.
Those guys are so cool looking. What are they called?
They're called minions.
Minions.
It's a word that, when it's written down, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then you try and say it, and you just feel really weird. Minions. Yeah.
So we're almost out of time for this segment, but I think we're going to see one last member of the battalion be rescued here very shortly.
Yeah, Gary's. Actually, probably take a little longer.
Gary's having a great day.
Yeah,
wow, look at that.
He's nailing it now,
There's another one. And he just kind of throws up.
Yeah, that's it. And there's actually 5 different types, so there's 5 different colours, so he kind of throws them up all over the place. There's a green one who sort of zooms off through the level and draws a racing line of squirrels for you to chase. So there's all sorts of different ones that pushes you in different ways to take risks.
Whoa.
And as you can imagine, if you hadn't triggered him, this bit would be a lot less chaotic.
Right. I would have died a long time ago.
It's really funny, like, in the office, you watch people playing the game, and, like, they kind of trigger these ghost quills, and all the quills are kicking off, and then they kill themselves, and they keep doing it over and over again, and it's like, you don't need to do this. It's
You
just
don't have to
quills.
do
Just
it,
like,
right.
They're like, I can't, I have to have the
Right.
money.
Plus, it looks so cool.
Yeah. Level is almost there. Gary's
Now
got
he's
it.
ringing
He's got
the
it.
bell.
He's got it.
He's going for it. He's going alone. Forget Laley.
Oh, he almost. Oh, get the bee.
And he no longer can rely on any of those other
Yes.
moves.
Nice one.
Nice job, Gary.
Good job. Nailed it.
Let's see who we got.
Good job. That's the
Zingari.
best.
This is
Hey,
actually
you got
Gary's
your, you got your
beat,
Zingari.
Yeah,
that's your beat. Well,
Very nice.
Harry and Gary from Platonic, thank you guys so much for this look at Yooka-Laylee and the Possible Lair, published by Team 17. Do you guys have any? When can we expect to see this game?
It's 2019, so we don't have an exact day, but 2019.
So coming later this year,
Yep.
Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Again, thank you guys from
Thank you.
Platonic for stopping
No,
by.
thank you for having us, yeah.
Thank you, Kirk, and stay tuned. Indie Day rolls on. We'll be right back with a look from at Rad. So don't go anywhere. Thanks, guys. And we're back, Nintendo Treehouse Live, Indie Day. I am here with some very special guests. I have Vinny from Nintendo of America, Publisher and Developer Relations Team, and, oh my gosh, from Double Fine Productions, we have Lee, the creative director, and Kevin, the producer of Rad. It's right there on Kevin's shirt. This game is, well, you guys tell us about it.
It's rad.
It's rad.
Yes, it's our built-in positive review. So thank you for helping us.
I'm gonna do my best to not make that pun on stream.
I know.
Thank
It's
you for
hard.
breaking the ice.
Yeah, for years when we had the game unannounced, we'd be like, "What are you working on?" We'd say, "Well, we're working on something rad."
And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, so Rad is a top-down action roguelike game that takes place in the post-apocalypse.
Post-apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because one apocalypse is like phoning it in nowadays. We gotta do two.
Yeah, you got to go the after the party of the world ending, basically.
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Things keep happening. So you play a young character, a teenager, in a town that lives kind of on the edge of the wasteland and has managed to survive for some time, but they've lost their power source. It's failing, so they can't nourish the crops or purify the air, and someone must go on a quest to find new power for the town. And of course, that's where our player character comes in.
Yeah, and we're seeing some of those characters right now, I believe, on the character select screen. You can already see that style just everywhere.
Yeah, you know, the first sort of apocalyptic incident in our game takes place in the 80s, you know, and so that was kind of a starting point for building some of our world, and style is kind of around that.
You can really tell, yeah, to Morgan's point, it just oozes from the art to the music to everything.
Yeah, we have a lot of, I think we have last count like 45 different music tracks in the game. You know, it's a really big soundtrack too.
Can we get that later, maybe?
Yeah. And so, you know, when you start a new game, you get this cutscene, and it's really the only cutscene we have in the game. You know, this kind of sets up the big story, and the town is kind of governed by the Elder, who's this mysterious character who kind of wears this mask, this outfit, and so you're not really sure, you know, what he's about at the start of the game. It's something you kind of slowly uncover. But he's telling the town, like, we need someone to go out into the wasteland to help us. But of course, if you were just to kind of send one of these people out into the wasteland, they would just kind of succumb to the toxins. So what we're going to see here is that the Elder is asking for someone to volunteer, and of course, only the youth is able to do this because their DNA is malleable, as we find out. So the Elder selects them, and we go through the ritual of the remaking, where the Elder is going to use some of the technology from the second civilization that we call the Menders to modify the character's genetic makeup so they can absorb the toxins, or the rads, as they're called in this world. And instead of just succumbing to them, the player character will mutate over time randomly. And that's kind of where our game's unique mechanic kind of comes into play.
So roguelike and mutation sounds like it's going to make for a pretty fun combination.
You might say it's a rad-like.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go. Tell us about the guitar.
Yes. So we have a lot of guitar in the game. But, you know, it's the Elder refers to it as the summoner. So he sort of modified this guitar to manipulate the machinery of the Menders. Since they're long gone and no one knows how to really work it, he's kind of managed to make it work.
Well, I'm glad, you know, post-apocalypse, you can still have some style, because I've noticed, you know, the youth, they're dressed pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not whether you win or lose our game, it's how you look doing it. That's what it's all about.
I'm excited to see what mutations we see in this run, because like you said, everyone's different, and it's going to be really cool to see what we get.
Yeah, the world is procedurally generated, and the mutations you get are different every time you play. So we'll see what happens. But the one part of our game that is sort of a persistent hub to the whole experience is the town. And so what we're seeing here is a little snippet of the town, and the Elder's activating the transference gates. And when the player goes through that, it'll take them to a random place out into the fallow, which is what we call the wasteland. But the town itself is persistent. So all of the stuff that you do over runs, you can upgrade the town. So there's an armory pass, and you can unlock other melee weapons that have different abilities, and they'll kind of show up there. There's a town shop here, Shermie's shop, and she starts with like, you know, one little item on a table. But over time, you can upgrade it, and she gets a whole facade and neon lights. Looks like a Sam Goody store from the 1980s, you know, in a mall. So
yeah.
you get
And like you said, you're not going to lose that if you die on one of your runs. You'll get to keep that.
Right. This is, it's sort of it's sort of a storytelling hub because you've got like town characters you can interact with over time, and they each have some of them little side quests and stories. But it's also a way for the player to kind of over several runs, improve the town visually, and but also to give themselves advantages in the game they don't necessarily start off getting. So,
Totally, and I am a huge fan of roguelike, and I think that's a big part for me is the progression, kind of once you're dead and what carries over in addition to sort of the mental memory, right?
Yeah. And, we have this theme in our game that as you continue, and you'll see as we start to mutate, your character becomes less human looking. So you're sort of sacrificing your humanity to kind of help save the world, if you will. And the people's reactions to you changes as you come back into town based on your appearance. We have like unique dialogue for all that sort of stuff. So the teenagers hang out here in this sort of area. They think they're being rebellious, but they're really like 5 feet away from all the adults. It's the only place they can go.
Wow, playing some arcade games over there.
Yeah, we've got some breakdancing. They're playing some arcade games. The teens are kind of, in some ways, jealous of you because even though they're kind of scared of what could be out there, it's really a chance for you to like make an impact, to kind of see the world because you've never really left this kind of contained area here.
Right. What's this machine over here? I think I cut you off earlier. You had a comment about this machine maybe over here.
Oh yeah, so this is Mac. Mac is a speak and spell style device that's been strapped to an old computer and an ATM. So he's the banker. And so if you invest in Mac, Mac will expand your capabilities. So you'll start to like save some of your money on death, or there's a remote network of ATMs out into the wasteland that you can activate to like, withdraw or deposit money depending on which features you've unlocked.
I love that. Got it.
Shall we head to the wasteland here? Let's see.
You got this, Kevin.
Yeah. This is where it gets random. What's going to happen, Kevin?
Yeah, and you guys are helping make this game, but you have no idea what we're about to see.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think there are plenty of other roguelikes that have a little bit more of a role-playing game vibe to them. And really what we wanted to do is not only make the world randomized, but make the player randomized. That's the unexpected drama that I think makes roguelike so interesting.
I'm so excited. It's going to make a lot more sense. You guys are going to see that happen. It's awesome.
And when you start out into a new world like this, you just have your bat, and the bat has a couple special properties to it, and we have a pretty good melee combo system that's always there. The mutations will kind of add to that, or you'll see as we get them. But when the player moves through the world and they defeat muties, they'll start to fill their rad meter at the top as their body starts to absorb the toxins, and when it fills, that's when you get that mutation. So we'll see here what happens. You can also see that as the player moves through the world, they're leaving behind a trail of new growth. You see the kind of grass there. And that's kind of a byproduct of the way they've been modified. Like their body is like a walking humidifier or filter system. It kind of pulls the toxins out of the world and is leaving behind a little bit of growth.
A little bit of love, yeah. And I could even see some completionists out there trying to scrape the whole map and really, paint the world green.
Yeah, like as we just saw that object that was activated there, you saw a lot of that regrowth just happen like in a big whoosh.
Yeah.
It mechanically it helps the player know where they've been because, our procedural levels are not small room to rooms. They're kind of a bigger, more open-aired experience. So, there's a lot to explore, and that is just a great visual way to say, oh, I've been here or I haven't been there. Right. You can see Kevin fell off the cliff, but the starting bat the player gets, which is known as the Elder Bat, it will teleport you back up if you fall off a cliff, and so you lose a little bit of health, but it's not like an insta-kill or anything.
Right.
There's other bats that you can unlock that have much more pronounced melee attacks, but then maybe don't save you as much when you fall off.
Got it.
So it's kind of a choice you have to make.
I see.
So the growth that you leave behind you is not only, like I said, it lets you know where you've been, but it also speeds up retraversal. So when you run on it, you move a little faster. We just mutated.
Mutation!
So you see he's mutated, and one of his arms is turned to a firearm.
Oh.
And so now he's got ranged ability, which he didn't have before.
It's a literal firearm.
Yeah, we have a lot of really bad puns in the game, especially as it comes to mutation names. So yeah, we have a firearm, and all of their mutations kind of have a real obvious use. Like you probably saw on the pop-up when you got it that it says, hey, yeah, you can aim with the right stick, and if you hit this button, you'll shoot a fireball.
And right now, I believe he's trying to clear out this area for this respirator. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the high-level goal that you have in every level is that you have to find these objects called respirators, and when you transform them, you sort of activate them using, you see these like vines connect you to the device. When you activate it, it has a laser that shoots from its mouth and points to where you need to go. And so, you can open your mini-map and inspect it, and you can kind of see, you can kind of scroll around and zoom in and out. You can kind of see where those lasers are connecting. So there's lots to explore, but just the very high level, activate these respirators, they'll point you to these gates that they power with their lasers. You go through that, you fight some sort of boss, and then
It's also random, right?
Yeah, which is also random, and see how long you can survive. And you see, we also have this whole elaborate set of interiors levels, and these aren't usually mandatory, but they contain shops and better loot, and they're a little more dangerous because you're a little more closed in as well.
I saw a floppy disk there, a puzzle cube.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe for the youngins that may not know, be familiar with the floppy disk or cassette tape.
Yeah, our currency are cassettes, and the keys in the games are floppies, So the people in the now, which is what the sort of current timeline in the game is called, calls the sort of 80s civilization the Ancients, and then the second civilization are the Minders. And all these weird sci-fi tunnels were made by the Minders to try and kind of reconnect the world after the nuclear apocalypse just shattered everything. But a lot of there's a lot of almost like they don't really understand what those cultures are around, so they think like cassettes and floppies were of significance. They use them as like common currency and things like that.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. There are a lot of them laying around.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin just picked up an endo mutation.
Yeah, so we have, these sort of exo mutations like the firearm, and we have a whole separate system for endo mutations that come from interacting with these various Minder machines. And you can have any number of those, and they're kind of like passive abilities. So you see, we found this. You can also find communities out in the wasteland. This is a group of people called the Cathode Raiders, and they're really obsessed with 80s technology and the 4:3 aspect ratio. That's who doesn't love that? But they, sometimes they'll have little side quests for you to do, and so in this case, they wanted their fire lit, and hey, Kevin happened to have a firearm, so he could light it for them.
Right.
And that just feels like it was planned, but it was random.
Yeah, it's very serendipitous. Wow.
So we didn't really want the community interactions. Our game isn't about people shooting other people and arguing over resources. It's really about everyone kind of wants the world fixed, if you will,
Yeah.
And they each have their own obsessions and their own way of dealing with the sort of issue.
And I was going to say, even it's a post-apocalypse, it's quite colorful, and it's not like a dreary sort of apocalypse that, I'm kind of used to.
Yeah, there's that post-apocalyptic wasteland. That's kind of a common trope, but you guys sort of took this whole new take on it, in my mind, is like regrowing this, adding this beauty back into that. Can you talk even more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I think one of the things that we thought about when kind of coming up of our take on he looks like he found a secret bomb shelter.
Yeah, if I can get up to it.
If you can get up, try the TV there to your right.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so we've got these secret interiors you can find. So this one took a floppy key, and now he's sort of discovered a little bomb shelter. So, we have a lot of little hidden things.
I played like 30 hours at this back of the office, and I have not seen a single one. So
We've got a lot of hidden stuff in the game.
Wow.
So he found another Cathode Raider. You see, this is Brother Ampere, who's been sort of trapped down here, and he's like really. So when we try to make any of the interactions, and he gives you a floppy as like a thank you for helping rescue him. We try to make all the interactions with other people positive, because on some level there's this meta arc that goes over the whole game, and as you finish a successful run, you get a story drop, and all of these communities you find and interact across all of our biomes ultimately all play a part in kind of saving the world. But it takes many hours to see that whole meta story, so it's just kind of thematically woven through the levels.
So yeah, whether it's adding a flower or a piece of grass to a barren spot of dirt on the micro level or the macro, the whole story, it kind of all has that regrowth and rebirth and everyone working together, which is a really cool apocalyptic angle, I think.
Yeah, I think, when we started making this game, why is Apocalypse relevant for us? And I think we sort of have this kind of obvious theme, but something that's still very relevant, which is that these two older generations, these older civilizations have kind of destroyed this world and left it to rot. And who's going to fix the world? It's the young people, right? And so you've got these teens that all the hope is placed in these teens. And kind of what you find by playing the game is they're ultimately saving it from themselves. They're not just following orders. Ultimately, it's up to them to do it and the sacrifice for them to make. And maybe it's not fair, but that's what it is.
That sounds a little familiar, but also quite deep.
Yeah, and I think it's the same. It's the same sort of angst people play. But that really got us thinking about regrowth and the transformation. And wouldn't it be neat if you could just by taking on this quest and maybe sacrificing something, couldn't the world just got ambiently more verdant, started to regrow, like a little trickle of hope in there.
It's really cool and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
And now, so Kevin is activated those respirators, and we've gotten into, this is a mini boss fight. So, all of our mutants come in a few different flavors. We have the sort of base mutants, and we have evolved and alpha versions of them. And the alpha version he's fighting here, they have, of course, a lot more health, but they tend to have extra moves or extra abilities or attacks that the base ones don't have. So this guy's got, this is an enemy we call the Smushroom, because it kind of looks like a mushroom and it smashes itself down. I bet Kevin got it.
Yeah.
He's a pro.
Ranged exo mutation can be really helpful for that fight.
Heart mod.
So you see when you defeat an alpha, they often drop a heart, and if you, I guess, devour the heart. I never think of it that way. If you absorb the heart, how about that? It actually split his first heart, so you can see on his heart bar there, he's got, the first one has got 3 pieces, and then 2. So between all of our levels, you as a player can choose to go back to town, or you can kind of go to the next procedurally generated wasteland level. And so we're just going to go to the next level, but a player could choose to go back to town for a lot of reasons. Like you might have money, and you might think you're going to die, so you go back to town, deposit some of it to keep it for a future run, or maybe you found something you think you can plant in the town farm, and that's another sort of upgrade path we have, where you can find these strange fruits growing in your grass trail and pick them. And if you eat them right away, it gives you an immediate benefit, but if you save them and go back to town, you could plant them and find out and see if something happens. We won't spoil it all.
I love it.
So, but we leave that to the player, whether they like to kind of control that flow as much as possible. You want to go back?
Yeah,
you
take a breather, deposit some money in the crazy ATM connected to a spelling machine, whatever. Or just keep on rolling.
Yeah, Kevin's feeling confident. Don't need to go back to town.
Yeah, we'll see. So, we have, as you play the game, the biomes progress. And we have sort of 2 levels per biome, kind of vaguely themed. So we're in the kind of the cracked land here. But each of those biomes can have randomized time of day, randomized weather that can really mix up the experience, as well as, of course, the whole layout being procedurally generated.
There's just so many different elements. So, there's no way a single run could be anywhere near the same. It's just wow.
It's quite a bit different.
Right.
Now, you can get multiple mutations, so probably somewhere in this level, Kevin's character will mutate again, and we'll see how that works with fire. And sometimes you wind up getting 2 mutations that work beautifully together. Sometimes they're a little more challenging together. Sometimes you even have hidden combos where you can kind of use them together to get a whole new ability.
So pretty much you could play this game forever and still not find every single combination.
That's what we're aiming for, forever. You see that Kev was demonstrating there too that Firearm has this fireball use, but if you ground pound and use your mutation button, it actually leaves a fire propagation circle that you can kind of use for defense to kind of kite enemies through. And that's just sort of like a small example of kind of a hidden combo that you only have while you have Firearm.
Yeah, and I love that about roguelikes like this, where you have these mutations. You never know when you're going to have a certain combination of weapon or ability with a certain enemy. So even if you have a really hard run and you maybe die, you're going to gain some knowledge or the way something interacts, and maybe file it away for the next time you encounter something like that.
Yeah. Well, you can see too that just some of the basic terrain shapes. You see in this level we happen to have a lot of mountain shapes. And in the first level we didn't. It was pretty flat. Right. And that's random. We have totally different terrain sets even within the same biome. So the sort of elevation's an interesting one because you can only get so far up it by default. But some mutations, we have mutations like wings that will let you kind of flap all the way up to the top.
I
and you
remember I picked up an endo mutation with double jump. Blew my mind. Yeah, it adds another layer of verticality to your point. It's awesome.
Yeah, and being able to double jump increases not only the power of your ground pounds, but also lets you access these upper levels you might be able to get to. And let's say there might be secrets up there as well. So
I have a feeling there might be a couple.
One of the other things that you hear while you're playing the game a lot is this sort of voice of the elder who's kind of narrating what's going on. So it's kind of there for comedic relief a bit. He kind of just. We just thought it's funny, like even our pause menu and stuff, he just says every menu name. He's just like pause or, and we recorded like all these alternate takes on the lines. Every time you hit pause, it sounds different or start a game.
I would have loved to be in the room for that. Jeez.
Yeah, we need 50 takes on pause, go. But the idea there is that, he's kind of ostensibly guiding you through this experience, from afar, you want to say it that way, but he's also, he has imperfect knowledge of the civilizations that came before them. So he oftentimes kind of evokes terms that might have been used in the 80s because he believes the whole power. They're like bring the player good fortune. So
God, and these kids don't know any better, right? Because it's a post-apocalypse.
That's right.
There's another respirator raised right there.
Yep.
I just can't get enough of that effect when it.
Yeah, it's what's also interesting about some of those bigger moments of transformation like that is another thing that you can see one that grew over there. So you see this, we call this a happy fruit over there. When Kevin takes out this enemy, you can see it, and they're hard to spot, and they will grow only in transformation. And so you might see one pop up in your trail, but you're most likely to see them in these kind of big moments. And if you pick it up, it's now this consumable. And he could eat that right now and it heals him, and those would only grow in your transformation. But that's an example of the type of thing you could also try and take back to town, or you could try, there's various other ways to use objects in our game, but that's something you could only get from your growth.
You never know when you might need to go back and get some health back. You're totally right.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the ways, because we kind of invested a lot of time in creating a bigger sense of world, we wanted to make sure there was a lot of things the player could do for exploration, not just, combat from room-to-room combat. We wanted to have just a little richer place to kind of find secrets and little things like the fruit.
This would be so fun to design, but I can't imagine how you make it random as well at the same time. Jeez.
It's pretty challenging, yeah. It's one of the first sort of fully random games procedural games we've done at Double Fine, and there's always a balance between, the player wants a new experience each time, but you can't really balance it so it's the same experience each time. You want those moments where you have those really highs, where everything just seems to come together and you have like the best run ever, but you have to counter that with like really terribly, tragically bad runs, but are still fun on some level. You're like, oh, I got my mutation I was terrible with, I bounced myself off a cliff, I died, this mutant stole all of my money, and I had an acid pool and the game was over. That.
But hey, that's roguelikes for you, right?
Yeah, it is.
You might learn something along the way, right?
Yeah, so here's another one of those endo mutation machines. So this will kind of give him, so you see this one gave him a fire heart. So this is a heart type that only absorbs fire damage, but it recharges itself, regenerates over time, so you don't actually have to heal it. So it's kind of a trade-off, like it doesn't protect you against all damage, but you don't have to use health potions. So you can see in our top right, the little icon there shows us that Kevin has activated one of the 3 respirators, but he's still got 2 to find. Let's see if Kevin can do it in time so we can see the boss. This is a traveling merchant here. This is a little character we call Eli, and he's a potion kind of expert. So he sold Kevin's character a potion that when he ingested it gave him an endo mutation. So we have like different ways you can get him. So he got hot foot, which means he can now walk on fire and take no damage.
Sounds like a fire thematic going on here.
Yeah. It's just the way it stacks up. We'll see. All right, so he just took a rad potion, which gave him enough rads that he mutated again. So
gnarly.
Did he get like
gnarly?
He got like giant goat legs or something.
He's got He's got tree trunk legs.
Oh,
if you
right.
will.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, clear. So, yeah, one of the fun things we did is whenever you pause the game, it kind of just like freezes the game as it is and lets you kind of rotate around and see your character up close. So it's kind of fun. You can even like be in the middle of a combat move or something and pause it and get a
Can we see a little jump kick?
so
Jump
cool.
kick pause.
The jump, yeah, the karate kick pause is always, there you go. So we've got a long pause
So
that time.
quickly again, so our character started off relatively normal. We've added a arm made out of fire. We've got tree trunk legs. We've got, I can't even keep track. That's awesome.
And what Gnarly will do, so Gnarly is a slightly different, you know, the firearm, of course, is like a direct damage range thing. Gnarly is kind of a crowd control style mutation. When you use it near a mutant, it'll send out vines into the world and hold them in place where they can't move for a short period of time. And so let's see if it works here on this guy. Yeah, so see, it kind of freezes them in place. But the interesting thing about that with firearm in particular is that Gnarly will also make them momentarily flammable because it's kind of like the vines are flammable. So that's kind of a combo that only exists when you have these two mutations, and that's again something the player would normally have to discover.
That's so cool. Yeah, he's like creating those like piles of scorched earth, like burning up the foliage. He just put them down. Awesome.
And Gnarly is one of those that, you know, is a little trickier to use, say, than Firearm because its use is a lot more timing and radius based with crowd control. But so some players are, you know, we've had this closed beta and gotten a lot of feedback on our mutations. And some players are like, oh, I don't really like this one as much in the early levels. But then if you have it in the later levels where you're just being surrounded by so many enemies, it's really indispensable,
really helpful, right?
You know, so you kind of learn, you know, like, well, maybe it's not the best now, but it's get to that point. And you know, we do give the player some agency over the mutations, even though they can't, say, start a run necessarily and pick the exact mutation they want. There are machines and other things in the game they can find that let them swap them out or let them level them up further. And so the player, you know, can kind of like control that a bit, can influence their destiny. Or like you saw, buy potions that then give them mutations as well. So Kevin only found one respirator. Oh, and there's another little hidden secret there. You notice that door embedded in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if these enemies are going to let me take a moment for that.
Yeah.
But I love that Kevin's kind of using everything at his disposal.
He is,
right?
yeah.
Melee, his exo, endo, everything.
So these also take keys open, and so this is our cave system. So we have a whole nother set of procedural undergrounds that are caves, and these are kind of some of the most difficult interiors. And you see they have these sort of albino versions of mutants that live in here because they don't ever see the light, you know, and they're sort of translucent and creepy. The difficulty can really ramp up in the caves because they're totally optional, but I don't want to spoil all the secrets, but there's some pretty cool things you can find in caves as well. But we're not going to fully explore it now, because that would take us a little while. We're going to try and get to the boss if we can.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna find that boss.
So we haven't even gone back to town. Risky.
Yeah. Oh, there's a respirator. So you see that plant there is called a throbber. And what you just saw is an enemy shoot one of his friends because he tried to hit the player, missed him, hit that, it bounced off, and when that happens, it'll actually reverse the allegiance on those projectiles, and so he actually damaged one of his beauty pals. So.
And this is a good example of you kind of have to clear the area out before you can raise that respirator.
Yeah, you know, because we don't lock the player in rooms, you know, which is kind of the mechanic of a lot of our roguelites. You're like, well, the door isn't open until you kill everyone. Yeah. You know, we want the player to have a little more free-form combat, use the environment, use cover, get on things, do ground pounds off elevation, but they still have to use some tactics. You can't just like run past all the enemies and, you know, turn on that and just, you know, that's a really tricky proposition too, because you only mutate as you get the sort of the rads from the mutants. So, you know, you can speedrun our game. We have a daily challenge mode, and that's you know, kind of our community connection, and that's a fun one because players can either choose to scrape the map and mutate more, maybe get more items, or they can try and speedrun and get speed bonuses. But then you have to be really good because you're going to mutate less and maybe not find health potions.
Right. It's really
that's exciting. I love a daily speedrun challenge, so that's like right in my alley.
Yeah, and we have. Daily challenges are fun because we also have a quirk system in our game, and a quirk is something that in the daily challenge is randomly assigned. So sometimes you get no quirk, it's a standard rule. Sometimes you get a quirk that's things like, we have one called Glass Cannon, where you double damage, but you have like half the health, right? Or we have one called Shark Style, where like if you ever stop moving, you start to take damage. So you have, but your speed is buffed, and there's more health drops. You just have to constantly keep moving. So we kind of throw those curveballs at the community in our daily challenge mode.
How much fun did you and your team have just designing and putting names and adding all these amazing puns?
We really like the name stuff. Yeah, we have this huge Tome of the Ancients in our pause menu for the players to unlock, and it lists like all the mutants and all the mutations and all the consumables and all the artifacts. And so if you're a completionist, we've got a piece of concept art and a little sort of backstory, a lore description from each of those things, and it's kind of a fun kind of meta game to kind of play this.
Right, just get a little bit more involved with the world and the environment and the lore. Yeah.
This map is not being kind.
Yeah, so I don't think we're gonna have time to quite get to the boss today, but I will say that we get these every second level you get full boss, and the full bosses also are totally randomized. So the player knows it'll probably be this type of boss, but they don't know for sure what they're gonna get.
Cool. Well, I mean, if you think we're a little bit too far from the boss, I think that's a great place to stop. Leave a little something for people to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think you guys have a little bit more info about sort of what the game's coming and a little bonus to talk about.
Yeah, the game will be out on August 20th. And we have a pre-order bonus that we just announced the other day that I'd like to talk about. That's pretty cool. So
I think we've got some art here up. You can see that's the stream feed over there.
So the pre-order bonus comes with 2 unique character styles. So we have that's Turbo on the left and Glitch on the right. And you'll notice that they're also wearing some Bandai Namco licensed arcade game properties. So we were managed to work with, they're our publisher for this game. We've worked with them to get Pac-Man and Dig Dug and Galaga and other properties actually in the game. So the arcade bat is also part of the pre-order bonus, and it plays like actual coin-op sounds from those properties as you hit mutants, and they kind of pixelate and de-res. So that's all part of the pre-order bonus. Those 2 character skins and the bat.
When I saw that Pac-Man immediately, right, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I love that. And when can we expect? I think you guys have a launch date, so can you just remind everyone?